Where's the camera? There we go. Hey guys, what's up? It's your boy. We're back with some Higurashi before we start little life stuff, because if you've been following my life through the Higurashi playthrough, you know I was sick for a while. I would say I'm about 95% better now. Still a little phlegm here and there in the lungs, but it really isn't a big deal. Just got back from the cottage. It was super, as the kids would say, litty. But I did at the last day get a really bad sunburn on my back, so there you go. Trade in sickness for like a horrible sunburn. Like it's actually like really bad. Like I haven't had one this bad in years, so I'm like shirtless and it didn't blister too. It looked like it was gonna blister, but yeah. So I'm still kind of in pain. I'm sorry, Higurashi fans. You have to bear with me. But this is probably I don't. I think that being sick was worse than being sunburned. Though this is a little more painful, but probably will affect the read through less. I think. But yeah. Last time in Higurashi, Mion got killed. I felt it was coming in my bones, and it did. And it was probably like the saddest Mion scene I've ever seen. Like I think it was sadder than Mion's fate in Watanadashi and Maitashi. It was really good though. Like as a Higurashi fan, I love it. As a Mion fan, I weep. But it was really good. I think maybe the only more emotional Mion scene would be the little montage of Keiichi thinking about Mion when he thought Mion and Shion were the same person in Watanadashi. But that was a fire scene. This art's really good. I think like a decent amount more entertaining than the last arc even. So I'm really enjoying it. But you know, at this point Mion's dead. Rena and Keiichi both suss each other. I'm not sure if Rena is actually planning to kill Keiichi. Obviously, we still have the paranoia thing going, but I think there's a decent chance that she is trying to kill Keiichi, so that's a possibility. I guess Rika's still alive too, if we're counting who's alive. But yeah, let's just see where this goes. The fat brought me a small amount of relief. I was in the superior position here, or at least I should be. Yeah, so they're both hiding weapons. Keiichi actually has the hatchet while Ren has the kitchen knife. And they're dragging this cart along to carry Mion's body, I believe. I hope it doesn't end up as Rena not really attempting to kill Keiichi and then Keiichi just kills her. Rena looked back at me while pulling the cart, with a sweet smile. But her eyes weren't smiling. Those eyes kinda look like they're smiling. Kinda looks like a slight smile. I flashed her a big smile. They're bantering like normal at least, but with this super intense background music. Their shadows melted into the dust. This was a matter of survival. This was the only way to break the heavy shadows of our collusion. Kill before being killed. That's one of the basic rules of survival. If Rena is willing to go that far, I'm prepared to fight. And I'm definitely going to win. As I decided that, I gazed at the bulge on the tarp where their hatchet was hiding underneath. Oh, wow, we stopped right before a chapter end. My bad. I think we stopped last time just because it was 3 a.m. and I didn't know if it was going to stop or not, but it's kind of inconsequential since it's such a short time. It'd be more awkward if it was like 15 minutes in the video or something. Or 20. Oh, please treat Mion nicely. I grabbed Mion's heavy body, rude, by the shoulders and Rena grabbed her by the feet as we loaded her into the cart. Then we covered her with the blue tarp. Right before that, I discreetly moved the hatchet to the ground, all the while praying that Rena didn't notice. When I raised my head to take a look around, Rena was simply staring at the ground. Uh-oh. Yeah, I don't know how slick you are, Keiichi. We pretended not to notice one another. Oh, dar. Do you really want to show your back towards Rena? Her response sounded mechanical. Her voice was inorganic, devoid of any emotion. I casually turned around where Rena was looking the other direction. Then I picked up the hatchet and gently tucked it into the tarp. Or under the tarp. Rrrr. The cart nearly crashed into me as it started to move. We slowly pulled the cart carrying me on away from the garbage mountain. I suddenly remembered the day that Rena and I brought the statue back. I made an offhanded joke at the time about how it felt like we were pushing around a dead body, but I never thought I'd actually be transporting a corpse this way. That is kind of funny. And to top it off, it was Mion's body. That part's not funny. This was turning into a farce. The extreme force I had to project into my hands to pull the cart signified the weight of Mion's existence. I fought back the urge to cry as I walked to Satoto's house with heavy footsteps. Right, and we're putting Mion there to mess up the crime scene. I spent the whole time praying that we wouldn't run into anyone. What was Rena thinking back there while pushing the cart with our stiff cargo? I'm confident, at least until we reach Satoto's house, there's no risk of her doing something with that kitchen knife. Probably. I cautiously looked back, hoping to discern something of the thoughts Rena kept locked in her heart. Rena didn't look back at me. She kept looking downward, concentrated solely on the task of walking forward, one step at a time. Right. Seeing Rena's emotionless expression was unbearably disheartening. When did this happen? My stomach churned because there was too many people whose thoughts I couldn't comprehend. What was Rena thinking right now? I can't trust anyone. It was a hopeless thing to say, but I couldn't allow anyone to make things worse. I wanted so badly to talk to Mion, who was lying dead on the cargo rack. If she was dead, there was some peace to be gained from that. She'll never have a sudden change of heart and try to kill me. Great logic. Hey Mion, please listen to me. Honestly, I'm afraid of Rena. At this point, I felt it was safe to tell Mion anything. It was such an ironic relationship that we couldn't trust each other until one of us was dead. Does that really qualify as a trusting relationship? Ghost Mion. True. I felt like I could hear Mion's voice. That's true. If I couldn't bring to trust someone while they were still alive, that didn't sound like friendship at all. Based Mion still based as a ghost after being murdered? Even though this is just his projection. You love to see it? Mion's cheerful voice called out to me over and over. The motivation. I stared back at Rena as she walked forward with a blank expression. Even though Mion was lying dead under the tarp, it felt like she was encouraging me. How selfish of me. Only finding my courage after a dead person encouraged me. True. Even though Rena and I were actually the ones who killed Mion. My ears were ringing. It couldn't be helped. I had no choice. I started feeling sick. I didn't want to find myself in a situation where I needed that concealed hatchet, and I didn't want Rena to have an opportunity to use her concealed knife. Honestly, I didn't want to kill anyone else. I wanted to have lots of friends, to laugh and cry together, with all my living friends. What are you thinking? Don't lose heart. You swore an oath. I sighed and shook my head. The time for those sweet dreams has already passed. Open your eyes, Keiichi Maibara. That era of playing around and having a pleasant time with your perfect group of friends is already a thing of the past. Kill before being killed. Otherwise, you'll get killed. True, that's all there is to it. That is a factual statement. As I stared at Rena's slender figure, my heart slowly filled with wretched, murderous intent. Once again, the voice of the crickets filled my ears. Shut up. Leave me alone. The more I wished for their silence, the louder the crickets cried out, like they were trying to criticize me. We managed to travel from the garbage mountain to the Hoja house without running into anyone. The surrounding area was completely swallowed by the dusk. Everything around me looked gray. I was a bit surprised to notice that the kitchen window was still broken. That's not good. It will be problematic if the neighbors started looking around and stumble upon the corpses. I have to fix the window as soon as possible. I mean, if you can. I feel like that's kind of hard to do. Rena reached into her pocket and pulled out the key. Smart? Kind of, as long as nobody else finds it. Rena slid the key into the keyhole. Clank. Then the door opened like normal. Rena's expression as we entered the house indicated that she could see right through my thoughts. I hesitated for a moment to decide if I should take my shoes off, but I chose to leave them on and followed her inside. The inside smelled as bad as ever. Rena looked eerily dignified while she calmly looked back at me and surveyed the area. I was confused when I heard that, but I quickly responded. I did my best to enunciate every word in my typical intonation to avoid agitating her. It's good. He can manage the hatchet, too. I said that in a light tone, like I was talking about carrying in the luggage. Then I went back to the car to get Mion. Jesus, you're not just bringing the whole cart inside? Okay. Mion felt, I guess it might be harder. Mion felt like a heavy slab of meat as I carried her on my back. I fiddled with the hatchet to keep it securely inside the tarp as I struggled to walk forward. Unfortunately, the hatchet was far too big to keep it hidden. It can't be helped. If it becomes necessary, I'll have no choice but to keep going. It's not such a big deal. Just to be safe, I adjusted the tarp on the side facing Rena. Slam. Something slipped, and a kitchen knife fell to the ground. I gently picked up the knife. Huh? Does that mean Rena isn't carrying the knife? What if Rena just took it to, get rid of the evidence? The knife that killed Mion was still soaked in blood. A single long strand of Mion's hair was stuck into that blood. Not good. It bothered me, so I tried to peel Mion's hair off, but the hair was so firmly taped into the blood that I couldn't get it off. It's disgusting. Well, whatever. I concealed the kitchen knife in my left hand and made my way inside the house once again. When I came back inside, Rena was in the kitchen lighting the stove. Oh, she just burned the shit down? That's actually pretty smart, but you gotta make sure the bodies get burnt well, or they still might be able to autopsy them. I answered nonchalantly, then set Mion down between Satoko and Shion. I couldn't bear to see these three girls reduced to mere objects, so I found a sheet in the closet and laid it on top of them. For a moment, it looked like a group of girls having a sleepover.
おやすみ。
Fun.
もう楽にしていいんだぞ。
Surely. I held my hands together in a prayer. Mion, it looks like you're all having pleasant dreams together. I hope everyone is having fun and doing club activities together, living our peaceful everyday life in some other world. That is my only wish. Well, you're not wrong about that. Kinda. Sentimental feelings rushed through me and tears began streaming out. Though they looked like they were only sleeping, in truth the three of them were dead. They could no longer.
レナ、
Uh-oh. She took a pile of letters out of the mailbox and carried them into the kitchen earlier. She held a stack of them together over the stove. Yep. It's actually pretty smart. Again, if you can burn the bodies properly. And plus, they do cremate people more in Japan, I think. We do cremate people in Canada, though I still think burying them is still the most popular. Or at least 50-50. I think that's 60-40 or 70-30.
あ、うん。それもそうだな。
The calm tone in Rena's voice sent a chill through me. I was struck down by feeling that I was all on my own, which might actually be advantageous given the current situation. But even so, there are friends, right? What the fuck? A deep voice I could scarcely believe belonged to Rena came from the kitchen. The voice was so eerie that I couldn't help bring myself to turn and look back at the source. I felt the same way, but I decided to hold my tongue. Rena quickly lowered a ladder toward the stove. She did so in a careful, mechanical motion, very precisely. The ladder smoldered and crackled on the stove. Then Rena picked up another ladder with one hand and held it over the stove. Technically, Keiichi did bring Shion into this. And it would have changed the whole situation if Shion wasn't into this. You're not wrong, Rena, I guess. Uh-oh. Yeah. It's just like what would happen with Satoko. I think the main part, it would still be fought multiple ways, but the fact is, if Satoko bumped into them, and let's say Rena tried to keep her hidden, it would still not work, right? Rena glared at me with the flames of the stove flickering in her eyes. I thought that Rena was just muttering to vent her feelings, but the next moment... Butterfly effect. Visual novel effect, but we didn't have a choice. It was you. Once I heard Rika-chan's name, I was struck with the sense that something seemed wrong, but my guilt urged me to apologize first. Oops. Someone was controlling you. Or no, it was fate. Oh god. I mean, kind of? Rena picked up a half-burned letter from the stove and dropped it. A nasty smell rose up, irritating my nose. Rena, stop playing with the fire. If you're going to burn it, do it quickly. Otherwise, the smell will drift to the surrounding area. I thought that to myself as I carefully watched Rena's hands, but for some reason, I couldn't bring myself to say anything. When Rena grew tired of playing with the letters, she grabbed a jug of vegetable oil from the cupboard under the stove. For some reason, I thought she was about to chug a jug of vegetable juice. She poured a thin line in a circle around the stove top.
これはね、お社様のたたりなの。
Rena had a cold-hearted smile on her face, the lights of which I've never seen before. What's going on? Why is Rena smiling at a time like this? Keiichi, you were wary before. Where'd all this caution go to? Go grab your hatchet or run away or something. I like the 3 dead girls sleeping like angels in the back room. The Rena standing in front of me looked like a cruel demon.
これはレナに与えられた罰なの。これはお社様のお怒りなの。レナが圭一君に頼ったりしたからみんな死んだの。レナが圭一君に甘えちゃったからお社様は圭一君の体を使ってレナを叱っているんだよ。
おいレナ、大丈夫か？
Nope.
どうしたんだよ急に。
We're fucking dead. Uh-oh.
どうしてそんなに慌てているのかな。
かな？
レナは正気だよ。今度は失敗しない。レナはどんなことがあっても負けないの。さっき圭一君が運命なんて言葉を口にした時、レナは気がついたの。圭一君なんて初めから信じちゃいけなかったんだ。
Jeez.
そもそもの間違いは圭一君を頼りにしちゃったからだったんだって気がついたの。でももう分かっちゃったから大丈夫だよ。今度こそうまくやれる。
おいレナ、うまくやるって何をやるつもりだよ。
We're dead. Anxiety steadily piled up inside my chest. Oh shit. Rena lit the stove. The oils around the stove ignited and the flame soared up. All the oil around the stove lit up in a flash and the entire kitchen was covered in flames in an instant.
レナはね、もう負けないの。お社様でも何でもレナの幸せを壊すものは許さない。だからレナは戦うの。なくなったらもう一度積み上げるんだ。壊されてもレナは戦って幸せをつかみ取るの。
Seeing the passion in Rena's eyes made me want to run away. Rena has gone crazy. Rena was so exhausted with everything that's happened that it drove her to the brink of insanity. I need to get out of this house. Rena has finally gone mad.
レナ、もう帰ろう。ひとまずここを出るんだ。お前疲れてるんだよ。それだけなんだ。ただそれだけのことなんだよ。
何言ってるの？レナは疲れてなんかいないよ。それにどんなに疲れてたって頑張らなくちゃね。レナはもう人に頼ったりしない。
Rena's independent and crazy.
負けたり泣いたり逃げた
And
りしない。
determined.
あんなに楽しかった毎日を一度は手に入れたんだ。もう一度絶対に手に入れる。どんなことをしてでもレナは幸せになる。お社様なんかに邪魔されてたまるか。
Yeah, get the fuck out of here, Hanyu. Rena slowly stepped forward from the flames with a slight smile on her face. Jesus, this is potential thumbnail, by the way. You don't did a CG. Look at this shit. Extremely spooky Rena.
レナ、
As though the heat didn't phase her at all.
分かったから。
圭一くん、心配いらないってば。レナは大丈夫だよ。レナは絶対に死なないし、この手でもう一度幸せをつかむまではお社様になんか邪魔させない。 今度はレナがみんなを救い出してあげる番なんだからね。
This is bad. Everything became clear to me. Even if I tried to talking to Rena, there's no way it would get through to her. It's like the person before me was another being, wearing Rena's face as a mask. I wasn't sure what to do, but I understood that she was dangerous. Run away! I have to run away. That's a great idea. I rushed off toward the entrance. But the moment I took a step, Rena started to move. Okay, fucking run.
圭一君
Rena lunged straight toward my chest. Taken off guard by her surprisingly gentle touch, I quickly grabbed Rena's slender body with both my
圭
hands.
一君やっと捕まえた。
一緒に帰ろうぜ。
You have a knife. I spoke gently while holding her tight with both of my hands. Please, let my thoughts get through to her. Not this arc, buddy. This ain't a sue me situation with like a bunch of dead people. And you killed me on. We could recruit new club members at the school and regain our happy days that way, right? And you could lead the club this time, Rena. Right, Rena? I tightly embraced Rena's frail body with both my arms. This was the first time I'd ever hugged a girl so tight. Nah. Jesus. Oh, guess we're not using fire, Rena. I might use that for the review. Keiichi, it did not work. Now all that's left is Rika, unless Keiichi stabs back. At first my body seemed to go numb. Then slowly a warmth spread through my stomach like I was being gouged with a burning torch.
何言ってるのかなかな。
Kana?
レナはもう圭一君のこと全
Uh-oh.
然信じてないんだよ。何か勘違いしちゃったのかなかな。
That is... It's a weird kana. It's like a malicious kind of haughty kana. My body was burning up, but it wasn't just from the heat of the flame-soaked room. The heat was pouring out of my stomach. When I touched it with my hand, I felt an odd sensation along with my pain. There was something sticking into my
圭
stomach.
一君が持っていた包丁だよ。
Oh, she yoinked it?
さっきみーちゃんを刺したやつだね。
それは
You're wrong, Rena. You're the one who brought that knife.
レナを殺そうとしてたんでしょ。レナ、ちゃんと知ってるよ。リアカーにその包丁、しっかり積んでたよね。
違う。
When I tried speaking, it felt like even more blood came flowing out of my stomach.
分かってないよね、圭一君。
Oh god.
レナはもう圭一君は信じないって言ったんだよ。運命なんて信じない。お社様も怖くない。
Hey, at least she's not afraid of Oyashiro anymore.
レナはこの手でもう一度幸せをつかむの。それが私の願いだよ。
Rena's terrifying smile made me lose all the strength in my body. What was I to Rena? What did I do? I pulled out the knife lodged in my stomach and tossed it away. Ah, it was the knife from this house. The same knife that killed Shion and Satoko, then took Mion's life. And in the end, it stabbed me too. My consciousness was quickly fading.
圭一君はお社様から命令されただけなんだよね。レナを殺そうとしたのはお社様に操られていたからなんだよね。大丈夫。レナはちゃんとわかってるよ。圭一君は本当はそんなひどいことするような人じゃないもんね。わかってる。わかってるから大丈夫だよ。レナは圭一君をお社様から助けてあげたんだよ。その包丁でね。
I had no idea what Rena was talking about. I was being manipulated by Oyashiro-sama? Being saved through death? Rena, what are you talking about? You're the one who's acting strange.
でもレナはちょっぴり傷ついたんだよ。だって圭一君、レナのこと その包丁で殺そうとしてたんだもん。レナは最後までケイチ君のことを大切な友達だと思っていたのに、かわいそうなケイチ君のこと助けてあげようと思っていたのに。
That can't be. Rena still thought of me as a precious friend?
さよならケイチ君。レナに謝ってもいいよ。
Rena, if I apologize, will you forgive me? You're wrong. You're wrong, Rena. It's not my fault. I wasn't planning anything evil. I swear. You're wrong. It's just a terrible misunderstanding, Rena. I mean, to be fair, he was kind of thinking about killing Rena a bunch of times. So.
ごめんなさい。ごめんなさい。
Now he suffers the same sort of fate as Mion.
ごめんなさい。
True karma. This is the Mion curse. Every time I spoke, I could feel an unsettling sensation flowing out of my stomach, but I couldn't stop apologizing. If Rena wants me to apologize, I'll do it as much as I can, if that's what it takes to take back her everyday happiness.
ダメ。謝っても無駄だから。無駄だから。
I heard the sound of the front door opening and closing. Oh wait, no, that's just Rena leaving. I thought she was about to come in and freaking pop some heads. Then the room got quiet. At that point, I could only hear the vague sounds of the crackling fire in the burning room. I'm going to die right here. Things get quieter on the verge of death. Cold. So cold. Hey, Mion. I guess this is what death feels like. Satoko, Shion, Rika-chan, Rena. Burnt, crispy Keiichi. It ends here though, right? No shot, there's more. Is there more? How is there more? We literally dead. Oh, red text. Is this Rena? I could hear the sound of the flames. Looking back, the Hojo house was covered in tall flames that set it apart from the dense forest backdrop. I guess Keiichi is just dead. That's fine. That was my past burning up behind me. My happy days in Hinamizawa were up in flames. In other words, this was a resetting ceremony. Starting now, Rena Ryuju would have to rise up and start over again. Ooh, blood moon. I sat down on my bike. Keiichi-kun's bike can stay where it is. I'll never ride it again, and there's no point trying to hide it. More importantly, I still have something I need to do. What, kill Rika? Maybe? Rika's the only one left. Something I absolutely must do in order to reclaim my happiness.
さよならケイチ君。さよならみーちゃん、しーちゃん、さとこちゃん。
It's been a while since we saw red text though. Since Sumi, right?
さよなら。でも私はまだ負けない。終われないから。
Ooh, we're zooming. I opted to head in the direction away from my home. I steadily made my way up the hill, but the goal was to reach higher ground, a hilltop with a nice view that would be ideal for surveying the state of the village. I'll have to visit the Furude Shrine once more. I was neither excited nor tense as I imagined what I was about to do. Rita-chan, I'm heading for you now. Sorry I'm late. Wait patiently for Rena, okay? I'll save you too, Rita-chan. I'll set you free from Oyashiro-sama right away. The hatchet Keiichi brought here was lying under the tarp in the cart. I wrapped the hatchet in the tarp, then sat it in the basket of my bike. After hiding the hatchet in the tarp, I couldn't help but chuckle.
ナタなんて大げさな武器。ケイチ君には不似合いだよ。
I pedaled my bike while fighting the urge to laugh. I reached out to adjust the tarp while still pedaling. hoping to avoid letting anyone see the hatchet in the basket. For some reason, I couldn't help but enjoy myself while pedaling on my bike. Unable to hold it any longer, I began to laugh on my own. I might be everyone's savior. I'm rescuing everyone from endlessly enduring the curse of Oyashiro-sama. I held down the tarp to keep this hatchet secure while riding my bike as fast as possible. We're gonna see mountain doggies or something. I encountered an unexpected sight at the shrine parking lot. Dozens of police cars were parked there. Oh, we're gonna see dead Rika. With their lights flashing, officers in uniforms were running back and forth. It was a completely different scene compared to my visit this afternoon. Right. I visited here earlier in the afternoon to take care of Rika-chan. Rika-chan knew all of our secrets. Though she spoke innocently with a cheerful face, she occasionally warned us with a know-it-all look on her face. Honestly, the girl named Rika-chan was far stronger than she led people to believe. It seemed like she was able to see through everything. I planned to kill Rika-chan after school when she was on her way home. I hid under the stone steps and waited for her to come home. But Rika-chan was far too capable for that. While Rika-chan was climbing the steps, she leaned over the rail and called out to me. Oh, discovered. I lied to her right off the bat. Oh, God. It was incredibly suspicious. A sudden request with no context. Even if Rika-chan got cautious and tried to run away, my next move was already decided. But no, the result was entirely different. Rika-chan made no effort to resist or flee. She simply nodded and turned her back, then began to speak. Hey, to be fair, if Rena kills... If Rena kills Rika now, then maybe they might stop the operation. Though I think if she dies now, it's a little too close to the date, right? They can still do it. They just rush it. It's just that in Watanagashi, Rika dies at like an unknown time or a bit earlier than they expected. Rika wore an expression suggesting she had given up on everything while walking up to the shrine grounds and unlocking the door to the ritual tool storehouse. I wasn't sure if I was more surprised or disappointed. Did she really think the ritual storehouse was such a trivial matter? No, Rika-chan should know it all too well. She probably knows everything about it. Even I could tell my face has tensed up from Rika-chan's words. Rika-chan said it again. I could feel the urge to kill bubbling up inside me. Destiny. I wouldn't let myself live and die at the mercy of such a concept. I'm going to fight. I'll take back my happiness with my own hands. The next moment I heard a voice. Maybe people are starting to show up at the town hall for a meeting? So I took the key from Rika-chan's hand, locked her in the ritual storehouse, and left the area. Rika-chan didn't fight at all. Accepting fate means admitting defeat. I'll come to kill you later, so please wait a little longer, Rika-chan. I got off my bike at the parking lot, then quietly walked toward the stone steps. I did hear an uncountably large number of deep, hoarse voices. Is this some sort of prayer? There were so many people near the steps. It seemed like every elderly person in the village was gathered here. They were all rubbing their hands together, praying in the direction of the shrine.
かけまくもかしこみおやしろお神様を鎮め
Oh.
たまえ。
Oh, kind of a cool fact that someone mentioned in an older video, like a couple months ago recently. I was saying in Sumi Horoboshi, there are times where it looked like white text looked kind of bluish, and they were telling me it's because of the red font. It like makes this weird contrast. So like even right now, like even looking at my OBS screen and stuff, it looks kind of bluish when it's white. It's just the I'm getting tripped out by the font. I tried to gently speak to the old woman in the front, but she was so intently focused on her prayers that my voice didn't seem to reach her ears. I then tried calling out to the old woman next to her. The old woman looked back at me with frustration and rage for having interrupted her prayer. I quickly turned and looked away.
すみません。何かあったんですか？
わしは知らん。
The old man ran off and disappeared into the crowd. That old man's incomprehensible reaction rubbed me the wrong way. What did I do? Why did he look at me like that? I found an old man sitting quietly a few steps away and called out to him in a soft voice.
何があったんですか？
たたりじゃ。たたりが起きたんじゃよ。
The elderly people nearby turned to look at me.
リカちゃまがお社様のお怒りに触れてしまわれたんじゃよ。わしらはもう終わりし。ひなみざわは終
True?
わりなんじゃ。
You are not wronged, old person.
何を言ってるんですか？
Suddenly, an old woman standing nearby stretched out her wrinkly hand. Then she grabbed me by the wrist. I immediately cried out. A sharp pain quickly coursed through my wrists. Let me go. The elderly people nearby all turned back towards me at once, staring at me with a stone-cold look in their eyes.
あれがお社様のお怒りでなくて何だというのか。境内の賽銭箱の前で死んでおった。
Classic Takuna.
腹を縦に裂かれておったんじゃよ。あれはたたりなんじゃ。
Rita-chan was dead and her stomach was sliced open? That can't be true, because Rita-chan should still be locked in the ritual storehouse.
これはお社様のたたりなんじゃよ。
お社様の。
お社様の。お社様の。
Curse. Chills ran down my neck. The odor drifting around the vicinity was reminiscent of the scent of death. An old woman rubbing beads near her head gradually raised her head, then she slowly lifted her index finger to point. Her wrinkly index finger stopped directly aimed at my chest. Whoa!
お社様のたたり。
It was like some creepy divination ritual.
もうやめて。
I guess that was just a feeling of being cut. Oh. I tried to shake off the hand of the old woman who grabbed me. I needed to get out of here right away. However, the old woman continued tightly clenching my wrist.
離してってば。
I vigorously swung my arms back and forth. I shook them enough force to knock the old woman down to the ground. Uh-oh. I reached my hand out to help the old woman, but then stopped myself. On the far side of the steps, I noticed a man who wasn't from around here staring intently at me. Did he need something from me? It's my boy Kumadai. Have you seen him in the consorts yet? I feel like we haven't. It's kind of cool. The way he glared at me was intimidating, and after being flustered for a moment, I noticed. He was staring at something red. Keiichi's blood was all over the front of my dress. When I stabbed Keiichi-kun with the kitchen knife into Toto-chan's house, I did feel a warm, sticky sensation on my chest. Damn it, why didn't I notice it any sooner? I casually crossed my arms in front of my chest in an effort to conceal the blood. Though I knew it was already too late. I suddenly started to feel uncomfortable about all the blood stuck to my dress. How many people have already seen the traces of Keiichi-kun's blood on me? The old lady was pointing right at the blood. Just then, I noticed a man in the distance holding a hand to his ear and moving his lips. Located Reina Ryudu. I could hear a response coming through the earphone. An outsider working for some organized group. No doubt about it, that man was a plainclothes police officer. Just then, the detective and I made eye contact. He casually looked up to the sky to avert his gaze. The gesture all but confirmed he was monitoring me. Why? How did he know my name and face? What did he say Roger about? Was he speaking to the prefectural police headquarters? Even if he started getting suspicious when he saw the blood, it didn't add up. It was weird that he knew my name. Extremely weird. I was filled with the unpleasant feeling that I was taking one step forward, 2 steps back. My nervous breakdown was partially alleviated when the voices of the elderly people reached my ears. I thought it was pathetic of the old folks to speak about it so callously. It seemed like the elderly people were quickly growing less afraid of Oyashiro-sama. Because if the truth targeted Rika-chan, it meant that they had escaped harm themselves. They were egotistically regarding Rika-chan's death as a sign of their own safety. Only the wisdom of the elderly could allow them to live with such a vile worldview. Perhaps that's necessary in order to endure the unimaginable situations, a skill necessary to go on living. But that way of thinking ultimately won't solve anything. What if that foul behavior is the source of Oyashiro-sama's anger and the true cause of the curse? Maybe Oyashiro-sama is killing all the people involved in order to punish them for something they shouldn't have done. If that's the case, I'll definitely be the next target for killing Teppei Hojo, Michan, and Keiichi-kun. Rena Ryudu is a murderer. I jumped to my feet and took off running. My blood-soaked skirt fluttered about. I pushed aside all the elderly people standing in my way, then stopped to hop on my bike. In the corner of my vision, I could see the plainclothes police officer's face turn pale and raise hell as he watched my actions. I couldn't care less. I won't allow the police to catch me. I won't allow myself to be killed by the lights of Oyashiro-sama. Once again, I have to rise up and grab hold of my happiness. I took off on my bike at full speed. I raced through the forest road, where the sun has already set. It was dark, so I couldn't see the road very well. I might topple over if I simply hit a pebble. But even so, I had to run away. I had to get out of here. I had to escape. A siren rang out from behind my back. The flashing red lights of the patrol car lit the dark forest road. I turned down a single-lane road that intersected on the forest road. If I continue in this direction, I'll end up in Okinomiya. I may be able to escape if I disappear into the crowd of the city. However, even if I pedal my bike at full speed, there's no way I could outrun a car on this narrow road. What should I do? My hesitation spread to my feet on the pedals and the bike started to slow down. I heard a strong voice calling out to me over the loudspeaker. It was a familiar voice.
停止しなさい。繰り返す。竜宮レイナ、停止しなさい。
As if being told to stop wouldn't encourage me to do the opposite. So I began pedaling my bike at full speed once again. I pulled back on the handlebars to make a sharp turn toward the forest at full speed. My bike jostled on the rugged terrain. But even so, this was better than running on foot. I was better off heading into the forest where the patrol car couldn't follow. Right away, the path was blocked by the tree roots and large stones that prevented me from riding my bike forward. That's alright, I expected as much. I tossed my bike aside along the bumpy trail. Then I caught a glimpse at the hatchet wrapped in the tarp in the basket of my bike. I picked it up without hesitation. This is better than being unarmed. I ran and ran and ran. I sprinted through the dimly lit forest as fast as I could manage. I couldn't tell left from right, or east from west. I couldn't hear anything except the sound of my own labored breath and the leaves crunching underfoot. My legs got drenched in water up to my ankles as I charged through a stream. Is that the river flowing from Onigafuchi Swamp? If so, I haven't made it very far. How much farther is it to Okinomiya? I pushed myself to run even faster, but my feet got tangled. My calves were bulging from fatigue, but wasting any time worrying about that would prove fatal, so I kept pumping my legs, left and right, running like I was about to fall over. How far did I run? Before I realized it, the surrounding area was completely silent. I couldn't hear the siren of the patrol car any longer. Maybe the patrol car didn't notice me take that sharp turn a little while ago. Even so, I can't get careless. I need to keep running until nobody can possibly follow. I was so exhausted that I wanted to drop the hatchet I was holding. The area looked somehow familiar. That's it. This looks like the forest where we chased down and killed Teppei Hojo. He was trying to flee, so I ran after him and swung my hatchet. I was the pursuer on that day, but today I'm the one on the run.
疲れちゃった。
I was suddenly struck by a bout of fatigue. I stopped running and walked 2 or 3 steps before losing all energy and collapsing on the spot. Chasing, running, killing, being killed. Changing the subject and the objects of those activities didn't alter the meaning much. This was all decided from the start. Rena, this is destiny. The words Rika-chan and Keiichi-kun used earlier came back to me.
そっか。そうだよね。悪あがきなんて無意味だよね。レナ、もう疲れちゃった。ちょっとだけ目を閉じてもいいかな。
Nobody was there, but I insisted on talking anyway. That wasn't unusual. I've been living my life that way for a long time. There's nothing special about today. I'm lonely and enjoy being with people, but I'm unbelievably terrified of needing to depend on others. That's not limited to today. So I would talk to other person living inside of me, a courageous person who always encourages me to do my best. By talking it out, I'm able to gradually calm myself and return to being the cheerful, stupid Reno while I'm around everyone else. Ah, that's right, everyone is already gone. So there's no need to be stupid and cheerful anymore. Ah, I'm so tired. I tilted my head back. The massive moon was quietly looking down at me through the overgrown trees. A pleasant breeze blew along my side.
さーて、ケイイチさんはどこでございましょう。絶対に見つけ出してみせますことよ。
Oh no, man. Dude, I'm feeling sad for Rena. This arc is crazy. I think I might legitimately like this more than maybe some of the main arcs. This arc's actually like a really, really good bonus arc. Holy shit. Like, this last half has been so good. Huh? I heard a familiar voice.
どんなに鬼
The
気があっても
Toko.
私に目をつけられたらおしまいですわよ。
バカ来るな。
I suddenly rose to my feet.
圭一君、さとこちゃん、まさか二人とも生きてたの？
I looked around the area, but I was just surrounded by a dark forest with occasional wind scattering the leaves. Was that a hallucination?
ばっかで。圭ちゃん、逃げる方向が間違ってるよ。そっち行ったらダメだって。鬼ごっこってのは体力勝負じゃなくて、ここ。知力勝負なの。さとこ、
Weep.
こっちなのですよ。絶対に逃がしませんことよ。ムキになったさとこは動きが読みやすいですね。
This is probably a dream. I must still be sleeping in that forest. Everyone can have fun cloud activities together inside Rena's dreams. That's sad, man. Hey, let Rena join in too. I came all this way to see you all, so let Rena play tag too. Huh? I was suddenly overcome with the urge to cry. But why? My heart was racing and my chest tightened. It hurt. I wanted to go back. I wanted things to go back the way they were. I wanted to go back to the days when we had fun club activities every day. I wanted to go back to see Mi-chan and Keiichi-kun.
竜宮レイナはこの辺りに潜んでいるはずです。
Oh. Police.
総力を挙げて探せ。
You ruined our moment. It was pretty emotional,
さまよ
actually.
分けても絶対に探し出せ。
Holy. Huh? Whose voice is that? Rika-chan? Satoko-chan? Mi-chan? Shi-chan? Keiichi-kun? Then I woke up. I had fallen asleep at some point, leaning against a big tree. My cheeks were soaked. Huh? Was I crying in my dream? What did I see?
発見次第射殺。
What the fuck?
了解。
Oh wait, is this the mountain doggies? Not the police? That imposing voice sent a chill down my spine. It seemed like there were a lot of them, but I could hear several voices and a lot of footsteps, and I heard intermittent mechanical sounds from their communication equipment. Where am I? Which way should I run? I walked softly, doing my best not to make a sound. I could see a bright light. There were a bunch of lights up ahead. It looked like the schoolyard. I might be able to reach the mountains from here. I clicked my tongue. Even though I was heading towards Okinomiya, I must have made a wrong turn and ended up at the school. There are a lot of people coming and going in at the schoolyard. Is this the middle of the freaking thing? How long was she asleep, dude? This should happen like the next day, right? But still. Yeah. This is she's literally right in the middle of the massacre. Holy shit. I could see several trucks and vans and a bunch of strange people that looked like armed guards wandering around the schoolyard. A large number of unfamiliar people were hanging around the school. What the hell is going on? What the? Bang bang. I heard a dry sound at the same moment that a dazzlingly bright light was pointed at me. A gunshot? That was the first time in my life I heard an actual gunshot. It was rather different from the movies. It sounded more like a firecracker. Bang bang. I heard it from a different direction this time. Apparently the enemies had surrounded me without me noticing. Enemies? Would police officers really be so quick to fire at a suspect? Regardless, I needed to get out of here, so I started running again. My feet slid on the ground and kicked up pebbles. Ah, I left my hatchet behind earlier. Should I go get it? What should I do? Given the situation, I hesitated to make a quick decision. Perhaps I was finding it difficult to accept that I was suddenly being shot at. I have to go back. I won't be able to fight without a weapon. But when I calmed down, I realized that a hatchet was a poor weapon to use against enemies armed with guns. so I ran back to the road I came from without doubting myself. I noticed several men armed with guns running this direction. I didn't recognize their faces, but I couldn't understand why they were all dressed in dark outfits. But one thing I understood was their muzzles smelled of gunpowder and were pointed right at me. Even though I was able to keep calm, I still didn't know what to do. But bang, ba ba bang. There's nothing else to do. The shot struck me. The shock made me feel like I was floating in the air. A strand of my hair gently flew down from the sky. The next moment, I tumbled to the ground. Some sharp pebbles cut into my cheeks, and I banged my ankle on a tree root. My body started rolling down the hill. I was rotating so fast I couldn't tell up from down. My limbs were being tossed around like a toy, and the ground continued beating on my defenseless body. Is this the curse of Oyashiro-sama? No way, it couldn't be like this. But then, who are those people? Slam. I hit my head on the trunk of a massive tree and finally stopped rolling. Ah, is this the end? Am I going to die right here? My whole body felt hot, especially my arm. It was burning up, so hot it felt like it was about to come off. The palm of my hand was slimy. I realized it without even looking. It was blood. Blood was pouring out of me. When I looked at it, I saw blood dripping from my right shoulder all the way to my hand. The blood was pouring profusely from my upper arm, spurting with every pulse. My arm was shot, but it was just my arm, right? I gently tried to move my ankle, and it moved, so I can still walk. I can't let myself give in to Oyashiro-sama. I can still fight. Another rush of energy suddenly came to me when I realized there's still a hope of survival. I put my left hand on my knee and staggered to my feet. I won't give in. Let's go. Start walking. Then shortly after I started walking. Bang, bang. Oh, what the fuck? It was close by. Oh, those are just random, like, villagers escaping? Just as I heard those noises, an athletic looking man was rolling on the ground toward me. I nearly shouted, but I caught myself and suppressed the urge. Then he tumbled to the ground right at my feet, and I noticed. It was a policeman in uniform. My head was spinning, but I desperately tried to comprehend the situation. Did Oyashiro-sama kill a police officer? Why? Because of the curse? No way, that doesn't sound right. I heard a voice coming from the officer at my feet. His stomach was gleaming with a dark, damp substance. This man was on the verge of death. I knew that instinctively. The police officer squeezed out a few hoarse words, desperately trying to tell me something. I cautiously sat down beside the police officer. This man is going to die soon, so it'll be alright. I convinced myself that as I moved my head closer to the policeman. The officer was coughing up blood as he squeezed out a few more words. After that, I could only hear the whistling sound of his breath. I shook the police officer by the shoulders. He said that toxic gas was released from Onidafuchi swamp and all the villagers were already dead? Was that also part of Oyashiro-sama's curse? I shook his shoulders even more. But the officer's neck just shook from the force. His eyes were open, but they were no longer looking at anything. He's been dead for a while now. I have no time to waste talking to corpses, so I gently sat the corpse down and took a deep breath. The curse of Oyashiro-sama? Don't be ridiculous. Like hell I'd be Oyashiro-sama's slave. Like hell I'd die. I held down the blood on my arm and rose to my feet and began walking again. I recognized these mountains. If I cut through here, it shouldn't take long to reach my hideout in the garbage mountain. So I kept walking. I kept walking under the cover of darkness. Once in a while, I could hear gunshots off in the distance. Maybe they were chasing a field rabbit or something, thinking it was me. Either way, I was grateful. I cradled my battered body and regulated my breathing to avoid making any noise as I continued walking forward. That police officer must have been shot by mistake, right? Suddenly, suspicion started bubbling up inside me. At that point in time, they had already shot me. They'd missed my vitals, but I was definitely shot. The enemies should have known this, but even so, they shot at the policeman. That officer and I looked completely different, and were wearing completely different clothes. My heart was throbbing, and it wasn't just because of my injuries. I had no doubt that something mysterious was going on, but I had no idea what it could be. An entire village annihilated by a gas disaster? Toxic gas was pouring through the village while I was running through the forest? If that's the case, will it kill me too? Something crunched under the straggly soles at my feet. It was an empty can. Before I realized it, I had arrived at the garbage mountain. Oh, her space, man. Dude, I haven't been talking too much just because this is so intense, right? I headed straight toward the station wagon. When I opened the sliding door and found my favorite cushions neatly lined up, I felt relieved. I made it here safely. I leaned against the seat and wiped my wound with a towel. Once I applied some pressure on my arm, the pain started to recede. I never brought a first aid kit here. I'd have to go home to get one. I thought that, but once I sank into the seat, it seemed it would be difficult to get up again. All the fatigue that had been building up finally released. It'll be okay for me to rest here a little while, right? This is my secret hideout. Nobody should be able to find me here. It's my territory, my safe zone. If I have to die from some gas disaster, I want to die by sleeping here. I cautiously closed my eyes while thinking that. Rustle, rustle. My throbbing nerves started up again. I definitely heard a sound out in the darkness just now. I held my breath for a moment. There's no reply. Is someone hiding out there? I held my breath and took a look around. Rustle, rustle. I could faintly hear a sound. I like to turn on the lamp and get a better look at the surroundings, but that would only give away my location to the enemy. So I concentrated on looking around in the dark, desperately surveying the area. Who's hiding out there? Did you come here to find me? Did you know I'd be here? Eventually my eyes got used to the darkness, but I thought it was strange. Something was nagging at the corner of my mind. Something seemed off. It was strange. Rustle, rustle. It wasn't the sound of a person. It sounded like papers rubbing together. I was taken aback. I found the source of the sound. I need to get going. I have to tell someone about this. No matter what it takes, I need to let someone know. I stretched my hand out to the darkness to grab the frame and pull myself out of the station wagon. Wait, what? I don't get it. The sound of papers rubbing together? What does that mean? Uh-oh.
撃たれたことすらすぐにはわからなかった。でも意識が急に重ったるくなって、それから吸い込まれるように眠気が襲ってきて、覚悟していた痛みよりも焼けるような熱さが全身を駆け巡っていった。あの子たちは見つからずに逃れることができただろうか。この流れのたどり着く先はどこだろうか。 れた。お願い。あいつら以外の人なら誰でもいい。あの子たちを見つけ出して、そして受け取ってください。こんな悲しい運命が私で終わりますように。どうかこれに気づいたあなた、真相を解き明かしてください。これはたたりなんかじゃない。それだけが私の願いです。
Jesus, holy shit. This art is so good, man. That ending was amazing. Like, I thought this, just like the last third, or was it like even a half, has just been so good in this arc. Like, I think in general it was pretty good, but, oh, calm down. But from like finding Satoko and Shion's dead body, to the Mion killing, which was crazy, to the Keiichi killing, which was crazy, to this Rena POV shit was actually insane. I'm a little confused about like the exact ending of what Rena saw. I guess it was like those guys just killing villagers, maybe kids that ran away. But Jesus, this is a like I like, I'm gonna do. Oh, did we not unlock a curtain call at all? I guess we didn't. We didn't get a curtain call. All right, let's do this then. We'll do this because I can't really split it into another video. So we'll talk about it later. We'll do a review of both the arts because I'm really hyping this arc up. But last arc was good in its own way, just because it was like a hypothetical that I'm sure like early on in Higurashi everyone thought like, what if Keiichi just didn't fuck with shit, right? But Jesus, that arc was so good. Honestly, just and when we do all the concerts and Ray and Ray, we'll revisit the tier list, and this will definitely be high. This was so good. Anyways, if you remember the ending of last arc, or the epilogue, it was Oishi and Kumadai visiting Mion, the one survivor, who was like basically mind broken and stuck in time. But let's see this alternative ending. The nurse watching the exchange near the entrance timidly called out to Oishi and Akasaka. Akasaka looked over his shoulder and nodded, then put a hand on Oishi's shoulder and spoke. Okay, so we skipped the part where they were already like interrogating Mion. Maybe. I don't fully remember. Oh, it's my girl. Your fate was so sad this arc, but it was so good at the same time. Then Oishi pulled a plastic evidence bag out of his handbook. Inside of that was a slightly stained beret. Rena. Oishi sat it down by Mion's knees in a rough gesture. That instant, the playing cards fell from Mion's hands. Oh. Okay, so this is a continuation, right? Because at the end she was playing cards and talking to, I guess, imaginary club members. But Oishi didn't focus on that. Instead, he moved in closer to gaze into Mion's eyes and inquire.
あなたは絶対覚えているはずだ。これはあなたのお友達だった竜宮レナさんがいつもかぶっていた帽子ではありませんか。これはですね、ひなみ沢村を流れる川の下流から発見されたものです。
It's kind of weird because Mion's dead in this arc, but maybe it means in the last arc we didn't see, where Keiichi didn't do shit, Rena suffered the same fate while she actually like was fighting in the war, not in the war, in the disaster, which is kind of cool. Because if you think of Higurashi Kai, they had like that Satoto arc where Satoto remembers Rena actually fought against the disaster too. So maybe it's a similar fate of that, and that's where Kai took it from.
ハムスターの死骸が入ったカゴと一緒にね。
Whether Mion was listening to Oishi's words or not, she was staring intently at the hat with a vacant look in her eyes. Her expression was devoid of animation, as if her emotions had broken down. It was hard to tell if she would respond or not, but Oishi steeled himself and called out to her with all his
わ
might.
かりますか。この帽子が一緒に入っていたということは、竜宮レナさんがその木箱を川に流したということだと考えられるのです。しかし、その意図がわからない。でもあなたなら、これに込められたメッセージがわかるはずだ。
Wooden box with the remains of a hamster?
いつも一緒に遊んでいた友達のあなたなら。
I don't fully understand the meaning. Oh, she's even holding the beret. I didn't even notice that. Look at that. Rena's little hat.
お願いです。園崎美音さん。ひなみ沢に何が起こったのか。竜宮レナさんは何かを伝えようとした。これを解き明かせば、この大災害の秘密に少しでも迫ることができるはずなんです。だから目を覚ましてください。
刑事さん。
Oishi put his hands on Mia's shoulders as his voice roared. The moment the nurse saw that, she pulled his oversized body away from Mion.
乱暴はやめてください、刑事さん。
大石さん、落ち着いてください。
Oishi instinctively tried to shake the nurse off, but he came back to his senses after Akasaka stepped in. And then his shoulders
大
flopped.
丈夫ですか、園崎さん。もういい加減にしてください。今日はもうお一人願いますか。
すみません。やりすぎました。興奮してしまって。
こんな乱暴なことをするようでしたら、今後の面会は一切お断りさせていただきます。ここは病院で、この人は患者さんなんですよ。それを。
看護師さん、この人はひなみ沢で大勢の人を亡くしています。そのあたりの事情をどうかご理解ください。お願いします。
The nurse was agitated, but Akasaka's intervention somehow managed to smooth things over. And then, when Akasaka turned to him and flashed a signal, Oishi gently nodded.
園崎美音さん、その帽子はここに置いていきます。また明日来ますので、何か思い出したら教えてください。それでは。
Then Oishi stepped out of the hospital room with Akasaka.
まったく。大丈夫ですか、園崎さん。
Oh,
そうか。
that's the Toto's revelation.
園崎さん。
Wide-eyed Mion. Mion was sitting silently, staring blankly at the hat resting by her knees, then suddenly raised her head and spoke up. The light in her eyes finally
看
returned.
護師さん、お
Oh
願い。
no.
さっきの刑事さんを呼
Oh,
び戻して。
if this is Tai, then the nurse is fucking evil.
まだ遠くにいていないはずだから。どうしたのです、園崎さん。
Uh-oh.
それにあなた。わかった。わかったんだ。レナの伝えたかったことが。
I don't get the dead hamster thing, to be honest.
ひなみ沢で大災害なんて起きなかったんだよ。
or that. That's Mion, that's
だ
it.
からお願い、早く呼び戻して。わかりました。ちょっと待っていてくださいね。レナ、あんた、命をかけて伝えてくれたんだね。受け取ったから。私、確かにあんたのメッセージ、受け取ったから。
Mion held the hat in a plastic bag to her chest and tightly embraced it. And then, knowing the filthy stain on the hat was a bloodstain, she began spilling tears. Long thought lost her. The next morning at 5:17 a.m., Mion Tsunezaki was pronounced dead as a result of acute heart failure. Great, now I'm seeing Mion dead another time. Jesus. Yeah, evil nurse. It's like Kai. Okay, so I didn't know they took that. Kai took it from this. That was dope. Holy, this freaking art is just banging, man. When you thought it stopped, they hit you with that. Man, that has set the bar so high for the next starts. Like, the emotional, like, roller coaster that went through is like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just looking. Was kind of crazy, man. It was so good. Anyways, thank you for watching. Next video, we'll do a review of the two arts, and I don't know when this is posted. I think it might be our break, so we'll take the second week of August. We're having a channel break because I'm in Mexico. So if I won't see you then, we'll see you after as we start the new art, which I believe is, I know it's not the order. If we're going by Higurashi Master Waffle, I believe it's the one that started with a Y, right? But I'll double check before we start. I think that's Yogushi. Yeah, before we start the arts with the new characters, right? But yeah, thank you for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed. This was actually a banger, and I'll see you next time. Hello? Was that always there? I don't remember. Bikini? Oh, it's probably the race stuff, right? I don't know. Anyways, thanks for watching. See you next time. Peace.